It's Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We have a lot to talk about today. Feel free to comment on any of this down below. I'm going to get right into it. I've been watching some of the clips from the interview on X yesterday with Elon Musk interviewing Mr. T. I think the interview was like an hour and a half, maybe a little over an hour and a half long. Some very good questions. Interesting interview. I'm going to watch some more of it today. What is also interesting is this rumor now that there might have been an attempted cyber attack on X during this interview, maybe trying to stop this interview. So that's being investigated right now. So this is just, another sign of things to come, where we're going to see more of this taking place across all sectors, not just on social media, but it's happening to our financial systems, banks, it's happened to the stock market, it's happening to our hospitals, our water systems, it's happening everywhere. And so you really have to be prepared for these issues, because they're not going to go away. We have a lot of enemies in the world, and they're going to continue this new warfare, this cyber attack warfare against us. And I was at a hardware store today and could not do a transaction at the hardware store because their system went down. People in line waiting and waiting. They opened up another register. That didn't work. And so they could not do a transaction, cash or plastic, and so people just began to walk out. And it made me think how vulnerable we really are, and how vulnerable the system is, the entire economic system, because if the system goes down and you can't do a transaction, plastic or cash, what are you going to do? And today it just made me think how important it is to really be preparing, to be putting the food, the water, the security, the flashlights, the batteries, the first aid kits, the vitamins, all of that stuff just goes on and on and on. I mean, this is a lifestyle now. You can't just, have a couple weeks of food and a couple matches and be prepared. This is a complete lifestyle now, because you're dealing with events now that are coming to America that are showing up now, like cyber attacks. But think about what that would do to our financial system, our economy, if they just shut us down for one day. How many billions of dollars that would cost businesses? Because everything is tied to the internet, everything's tied to the cloud, everything's digital. And at some point, yeah, maybe some smaller businesses would pull out a calculator and they would do transactions with cash. But your big box stores, they're down. They would be down until they got the system back up and running. Is that a day? Is that a week? Is that a month? We're very vulnerable, ladies and gentlemen. And there's a good video coming out. I haven't seen it. It's not even aired yet. It's going to be Texas Silver, Part 2, Bill Holter. And today, they're going to be talking about preps and preparation. So I thought that kind of tied into my experience today of how quickly the system can shut you out. And no emergency today. Didn't really need anything, that important at the hardware store. I just put it back and left. But what if it was something that I really needed? What if it was food? What if it was groceries? What if it was, serious gear or supplies that I needed, and I was unable to pay for it? Because the system is down. So it's something to think about. So again, check out my dear friend Aaron at Texas Silver, Part 2, Bill Holter. They're going to be talking about preps. I think it's going to be a real good one. I thought the last one was great. Wednesday's big CPI inflation report could mark a change in the thinking for the Fed. So today we got PPI. That came in just 0.2%. In July, up to 0.2% in July, 2.2% from a year ago. So it came in better than expected. It's good news. It was very good news for the markets. Dow Jones up a little over 400, NASDAQ up a little over 400. So the markets are rejoicing. They're feeling good. It's only a matter of time now before the Fed does cut rates. But isn't it amazing how they can manipulate the data and make people feel good? And they can make people actually believe and feel like inflation is actually going down. Every hour today, watching some of these financial channels, inflation is not even a problem now. They're making people think that inflation has literally disappeared at this point. And I ask these people in the $3,000 suits, have you been to the grocery store lately? Have you paid rent lately? Have you paid your car insurance lately? Have you gone to a gas station lately? How in the world are they trying to tell us that inflation is not even an issue anymore? It's unbelievable. But I guess if you tell a lie enough times, people begin to believe it. Jim Barrett, Chief Investment Officer at Piante Morin Financial Advisors, he said this: inflation is almost a non-issue at this point. Jim, have you been to a grocery store lately? I'm sure he hasn't. He probably doesn't pump his own gas. Probably isn't making out a rent check. Lives in a multi-million-dollar home, in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, probably driving a multi-$100,000 car with a driver. These people are so out of touch, but it's literally now, they're trying to convince us that inflation's not even an issue now. It's nothing to worry about. It's not an issue. We're almost back to 2%. Everything's fine. Again, have you been to a store lately? Has your standard of living improved over the last 6 months, the last year? Here's one from Fox Business. Jim Chain, Blink Fitness files for bankruptcy. At this point, at this moment, they will keep their gyms open. They have more than 100 locations, thousands of members, thousands of employees. How long does this go on before we begin to see a lot of these big gyms? They're building a new Equinox out here, huge one. How long before these big gyms with this massive overhead begin closing? Because one of the first things people do when they have decisions to make, do we pay groceries and utilities or do we keep the gym membership? They're canceling the gym membership. And this chain right here, Blink Fitness, 100 locations. You know, at some point they're going to close a chunk of these things down. They're going to have to. Is it going to be 20, 30, 50? At some point, maybe it's all of them. Again, it's a sign of the times. Paramount cuts 15% of U.S. workers. We talked about this the other day. That cut will begin at the end of September. Warner Brothers, Disney, Discovery, all of them have been laying off massive amounts of people. Yet Dow Jones, NASDAQ up over 400 points today. Inflation's not even an issue, we're being told. I'm sure tomorrow the CPI number will be better than expected. I'm expecting better than expected. It's amazing how they can begin to just play with these numbers and get the numbers that they need in order to get the Fed to cut rates. LL Flooring closed 94 stores as it files for bankruptcy. More great news, right? Here's a tragic one. Workers face uncertainty after closure of Tyson plant that employed 25% of Iowa town. This is Perry, Iowa. 25% of the people in this town were employed by Tyson. Tyson Foods pork plant recently closed down June 28th. 1,300 jobs gone. It's decimated Perry, Iowa. How does this town survive now when 25% of the people employed by Tyson, who is now closed down, have lost their jobs? How does this town survive? Absolutely tragic. Markets up today. Markets could care less about what's happening in Iowa. They could care less about LL Flooring. They could care less about your job. They could care less about Paramount. They care only about cheap, easy money. They're waiting for the helicopters to fly over, begin to drop money. They're waiting for rate cuts to make money extremely cheap. The economy is going to get absolutely crushed. The hardworking American will be absolutely crushed. Middle class is going to continue to be decimated. All this is going to do, all these rate cuts are going to do is benefit the very, very top 1%. The very, very top. It's not going to benefit the majority of Americans. We're going to get a quick fix on the stock markets. They will be juiced. People will be told that this is good. They will believe it while they're losing their jobs, while they lose their cars, while they lose their houses. They'll continue to be told everything is good, and they will believe it while they lose everything. The Wilkes report, here's another one with Tyson. Wilkesboro, North Carolina, 400 to 1,000 employees at Tyson, at their Tyson plant in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, will be losing their jobs. United States Post Office or Postal Service sees steep drop in expedited shipping demand. Priority mail has dropped 40.7% for the quarter. Think about that number, 40.7%. Priority mail has dropped for the quarter. Apparently, consumers don't need their products as fast as they once did. Remember, people would ship that priority or overnight. They'd order something online and they wanted it, tomorrow, if not today. And so now people are saying, well, maybe I can wait, a few days instead of priority, which I believe is 1 to 2 days. People aren't paying to have it expedited. So what does that mean? I think that it means that people don't have the disposable or discretionary money that they once did, and now people aren't ordering as much online, and when they do, they're cutting back. Home Depot may need an interest rate cut to boost its sales. Sales have been slumping, and it's amazing that when you look at the economy, people need cheap money to support their lifestyle. Nobody saves up. Nobody saves up to say, hey, I'm going to, redo the kitchen cabinets, or I want to put in some stainless steel appliances, or, I want to do granite countertops. Nobody saves up for that. People go to the cheap money. They go into debt. They slap it on a credit card. They finance it through a store. However they're doing it with debt. They're having to borrow money in order to live this lifestyle. People used to save up and pay cash for these type of things. Used to save up and pay cash for a refrigerator or a stove or some countertops. You would typically try to save up maybe cash for a car, or maybe finance a car maybe 2 or 3 years. Now it's 7, 8 years. No big deal. That's what people do. People can only live the dream now if they have access to cheap money. And without that cheap money, people aren't redoing their kitchens. They're not redoing the bathrooms. They're not remodeling like they once did because they don't have access to that cheap money. And so Home Depot is praying for interest rates to be cut multiple times so that they can get people to borrow in order to redo those homes, kitchens, bathrooms, living rooms, whatever it is, so people can get back out and buy a big screen TV. They want to juice these markets, and they want people to get back in spending, but this is going to be very, very difficult because inflation is so high, the cost of living is so high, and so many people are losing their jobs that it's going to take more, in my opinion, than cheap money to get people back in spending in the economy. And it says right here on the Hedged, this article, it's about a day or two old. Markets need a lot more than a rate cut. Rate cuts won't be enough to send markets to new all-time highs. Money supply growth and quantitative easing are needed to maintain these valuations. I keep seeing these interviews, I keep reading these articles that there's going to be a flood of people jumping into the real estate market once they cut interest rates, a couple times. 25 basis points here, 25 basis points there, and people are going to be running in and buying homes. I just don't think a couple rate cuts is going to do that, because you're going to need a much stronger economy where people have some cash, where people have a job. Where you have a strong consumer. If the consumer isn't strong, if the consumer doesn't have a job, they're not buying a house. They're not buying a house at 3%. It's just not going to happen. I think that a lot of people in this country people that I know, people that you probably know, are seriously underestimating how weak the U.S. economy really is at this point. They can tell us all day on the television, uh, they can tell us all day on websites, on the internet, that the economy is doing well. Why are we $35 plus trillion in debt? Why are we running a $2 trillion a year deficit if everything is so great? Why are we closing hospitals now? Why are all these people losing their jobs if everything is so great? Why are the car lots absolutely stacked with cars? I was watching a video yesterday. This dude was at a CarMax. I don't know what state. He's got a pretty big channel. I forgot the name of it. But he was at a CarMax. This CarMax was enormous. They must have had, I don't know, 500-600 cars on this car lot. It was enormous. This thing was stacked with cars and SUVs. Why are they not selling if everything is so good? Why are homes not selling? We have a shortage of inventory, but nothing's selling. And they keep telling us every day the shortage of inventory, this limited inventory. Do you really believe this? I think there's more homes on the market than most people can believe or want to believe. They just keep going back to this narrative that, oh, we don't have enough homes. That's why they're not selling. No, they're not selling because they're overpriced. Interest rates or mortgage rates are too high. Actually, they're not too high. Mortgage rates are really average right now. If you look at history, what are we at? About 6.5% today, somewhere around there. That's average. That's actually a pretty decent rate. Problem is, the price of these homes is so overpriced, so overvalued. That's why they're not selling. Let's stop with the limited inventory. I see homes everywhere for sale, just like I see cars piling up everywhere. I see new home construction booming everywhere I go. There's no shortage. That the amount of inventory is going to continue to pile up. Again, they will cut rates, they will juice the markets, but the pain will follow. We may see markets go way up to record highs, but the economy is going to pay the price. And at some point, the stock market will pay the price too, because at the end of the day, if people can't afford to buy stuff from corporate America, if they can't afford to go to the grocery store, if they can't afford to buy stuff off the shelves, if they can't afford to buy cars and SUVs and homes and all these goods from corporate America, those margins are going to be absolutely destroyed. And that will destroy Wall Street and the stock market. This is going to get ugly. It's going to get very, very ugly, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure there's people out there today going, oh, wow, look at the Dow Jones 400, NASDAQ 400, markets across the board in the green. Everything must be great. Yet 78% of this country is working paycheck to paycheck. The debts, the deficits are at all-time highs. How about household debt? Why is that at all-time highs? Credit card debt, all-time highs. Why? If everything is so good, why are we seeing debt across the board at all-time highs? From our national debt to household debt, credit card debt, it's exploding. While the cars pile up, the SUVs pile up, everything continues to just pile up because people can't afford to buy this stuff. The average American has no idea what is happening right now behind the scenes, behind their back. And many of them probably really don't care to know. And these people are going to be the most affected. As I leave you today, stay on track. Keep walking close to God. Thank God for everything He's blessed you with. And pay attention to what is going on. Why are some people awake right now and why are so many people not? How come you can see what's going on, I can see what's going on, but you can talk to your neighbor, you can talk to somebody at work, you can talk to somebody down the street, and they have no idea. They cannot see any of this. Why are they blind to the truth and why are your eyes open? Think about that. God has woken you up. God is allowing you to see this, and He's allowing you to see this so that you take action. The rest is up to you. We can sit here and do nothing, or we can take action and prepare the best that we can. God bless every one of you. Have a wonderful day. God bless America. Stay safe out there. A lot of action, a lot of things taking place out there. Stay safe. Exercise situational awareness. and we'll see what happens tomorrow. And remember, what happens tonight? We have things are erupting in the Middle East, so who knows what could happen 5 minutes after you watch this video, an hour after you watch this video. Who knows what we're going to wake up to tomorrow morning. There is a lot of disruption taking place across the world right now, so be aware of that, be awake. God bless. Take care.